In Spider-Man Brand New Day, the Hulk plants himself under a massive chunk of collapsing building and holds it up, with Spider-Man's webbing strapping the debris right onto him. It is a jaw-dropping moment, but it left me with one nerdy question I could not shake. Exactly how heavy was that debris? So let's actually do the math, step by step, and find out what the Hulk was really holding. Here is the moment we are working with. A slab of building, concrete, steel, rebar, the whole structure comes crashing down, and the Hulk braces underneath it and holds. Spider-Man's web lines lash the debris to Hulk's arms and back, so the entire load hangs on him. So our job is simple to state. Estimate the mass of that slab. Now the movie never flashes a number on screen, so we are going to estimate, and I'm going to show you every single assumption I make so you can argue with me in the comments. This is back of the envelope physics. We are not after a number accurate to the last kilogram. We want the right ballpark, the right order of magnitude. Step 1. The size. Watch the shot, and the debris reads like a big section of concrete floor, roughly the footprint of 2 city buses parked side by side. So let's call it 12 meters wide, 12 meters deep, and about 40 centimeters thick once you include the beams and rebar. That is a conservative, believable chunk of a building. Step 2. The volume. Volume is just width times depth times thickness. 12 times 12 is 144 square meters of floor. Multiply that by our 0.4 meter thickness and we land on about 58 cubic meters of solid material. Hold on to that number, 58 cubic meters, because density is about to turn it into a weight. Step 3. The density. Ordinary concrete weighs about 2,400 kilograms per cubic meter. But this is reinforced concrete, packed with steel rebar and beams, so we will use 2,500 kilograms per cubic meter. In plain terms, every single cubic meter of this debris weighs about 2.5 tons all on its own. Step 4. The mass. And this is the payoff. We just multiply. 58 cubic meters times 2,500 kilograms per cubic meter gives us roughly 144,000 kilograms. Round it off and the Hulk is holding about 150 metric tons of building. There is our headline number. And notice, he is not lifting it clean and pressing it overhead. He is holding it dead still, fighting gravity every second so it does not flatten everyone underneath. A static hold like that is brutally demanding because there is no momentum to help you, just raw, constant force. That actually makes this more impressive than the raw number suggests. Now, good science double checks itself, so let's estimate a completely different way. Structural engineers rate a concrete office floor at roughly 600 kilograms per square meter of self-weight. Our slab is 144 square meters. Multiply and you get about 86 tons for one clean floor. Add some wall and beams on top and you climb right back toward our first estimate. So 2 totally different methods land us in the same neighborhood, which is exactly what we want. The honest range is somewhere between about 75 tons for a thin single slab and 250 tons for a chunkier multi-floor piece. We will plant our flag in the middle at around 150 tons and use that as our working figure. One honest caveat before we go further. This number swings hard on the size of that slab. If the debris is really 15 meters across instead of 12, the mass leaps past 230 tons. If it is thinner than we guessed, it drops toward 80. That is why we give a range and why the exact figure matters less than the staggering order of magnitude. Now let's translate mass into what the Hulk actually feels. Weight is mass times gravity. 144,000 kilograms times gravity works out to about 1.4 million newtons of downward force. That is the invisible load pressing on Hulk's entire frame, every single second that he holds that slab in place. 1.4 million newtons. If newtons do not mean much to you, flip it into pounds. 150 tons is around 320,000 pounds of force bearing straight down on him. That number is so big, it stops meaning anything, so let's fix that. Let's start turning it into things you can actually picture in your head. First, cars. An average family car weighs about 1.5 tons. Divide our 150 tons by that, and the Hulk is holding up the equivalent of roughly 100 cars. Picture 100 sedans crushed into a single hanging block, and the Hulk casually bracing all of it on his shoulders. Not a car person? Try elephants. A big African bull elephant tips the scales at around 6 tons. 150 divided by 6 is 25, so the Hulk is holding about 25 full-grown elephants, all piled up and dangling from Spider-Man's webbing. 25 elephants held perfectly, dead still. That is the mental picture. A few more for scale. A loaded city bus is about 12 tons, so that is a solid dozen buses. A fully loaded semi-truck is around 36 tons, so call it 4 big rigs. And in the wildest comparison of all, 150 tons is roughly the weight of an entire adult blue whale, the largest animal that has ever existed on Earth. Or look to the sky. An empty Boeing 737 jet weighs around 40 tons. That means the Hulk is holding close to 4 passenger jets, minus the fuel and the passengers. Whichever comparison finally lands for you, the point is exactly the same. This is an absolutely enormous city block saving amount of weight. And here is a bonus that Spider-Man fans will love. Those web lines had to hold that same load without snapping. If the webbing is genuinely tethering 150 tons onto the Hulk, then Peter's web fluid is holding a blue whale's worth of debris in pure tension. That quietly doubles as one of the most insane web strength feats in the entire movie. So what does 150 tons actually say about the Hulk? On the ground, in the real world, it is staggering. The strongest industrial cranes on Earth strain to lift this, using counterweights and hydraulics bolted to the ground. The Hulk is doing it with his body, holding it steady while getting angrier, which for him means getting stronger by the second. Sit with that comparison for a second. The mobile cranes that build skyscrapers are rated to lift somewhere between 50 and a few hundred tons. And they need enormous counterweights, hydraulics, and outriggers just to not tip over. The Hulk is matching a purpose-built industrial crane using nothing but his 2 arms and his back. That is the feat. But here is the twist for a character like the Hulk. As huge as 150 tons sounds to us, for him, this is a warm-up. This is the Hulk being careful, holding back, protecting the people underneath. His real ceiling is not measured in tons at all. It is measured in something much scarier, and to see it, we have to compare his feats. Because this is not the first time fans have done Hulk math. People have been calculating his on-screen feats for years. So let's line the brand new day debris hold up against his other big screen showings and see exactly where it ranks. From his gentlest little catches all the way up to his most destructive single punches. At the very bottom of the scale are his casual feats. Catching a falling person or plucking Iron Man out of the sky is barely a few tons of momentum for the Hulk. These are the moments where he's being gentle, precise, and careful. Impressive control, sure, but a rounding error on his actual power. A step up, the everyday destruction. Flipping a car, smashing through a wall, hurling a motorcycle down the street. That is a couple of tons tossed like a toy. It is the kind of feat that terrifies an entire city, but does not even register as effort for him. Our debris hold already towers far above these. Now it gets serious. Remember the Hulk trading blows with the Hulkbuster armor? A massive, multi-ton suit built specifically to contain him and throwing it around a city. The forces there, the punches, the throws, the impacts, climb into the hundreds of tons of effective force. That is a genuine heavyweight feat, sitting right in our debris holds league. And near the very top of his on-screen power, the Hulk once punched a Leviathan, a flying armored space whale hundreds of feet long, and stopped it dead in the air. The kinetic force needed to halt and shatter something that enormous is astronomical, easily thousands of tons of effective force. That single punch may be the biggest raw feat he has ever put on film. So let's rank them all. Plot the Hulk's on-screen feats by the raw force involved, and a clean ladder appears. His gentle catches sit at the bottom, everyday smashing just above that, then our brand new day debris hold lands comfortably in the upper middle, with the Hulkbuster brawl and that Leviathan punch towering over everything. So where does the debris feat finally rank? Right in the upper tier of his grounded, believable showings. It is far above his everyday destruction, standing shoulder to shoulder with his big brawls, and below only his most explosive, city-leveling moments. As a pure, held, no-trick strength feat, it might be the single cleanest heavy lift we have ever watched him perform. And for the ultimate perspective, remember, this is still the movie Hulk holding way back. In the comics, as the World Breaker, the Hulk has generated force powerful enough to crack an entire planet. A feat you measure not in tons, but in numbers with dozens of zeros behind them. Compared to that, 150 tons is the Hulk barely flexing. So here is the final answer. The debris the Hulk holds in Brand New Day weighs somewhere around 150 tons, roughly 100 cars, 25 elephants, or a full-grown blue whale, held dead still against about 1.4 million newtons of gravity. It is one of the strongest clean strength feats in his entire on-screen career. 150 tons of building, strapped to the Hulk by a spiderweb and held like it was nothing at all. That is the math. Do you think my estimate is way too low or way too high? Drop your own numbers in the comments and tell me exactly which movie feat you want me to calculate next.